That's great.
Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. It means a lot to me. I've never really done anything like this before. I've done a lot of open mics, and 3 Times Cafe one time let me do like a 20-minute set, which was very lovely. And I'm just reminding myself that this is the same thing. It's just the same thing, it's just a little bit longer. But pretty much the idea is, okay, so there's a company called Replay Storytelling. I actually have a friend coming today. I think she's a little bit late, and she works with them. And they're very beautiful, and they pretty much have storytellers tell stories in Toronto. And I went to their event earlier this year, and I asked, like, it was a make a one-woman show event. And I went and I talked to them, and I said, I want to make a one-woman show, but your advice doesn't really apply to me, because I want it to be surrounded by poetry. I don't really know how to make a play that is surrounded by poetry. And the guy pretty much said I was thinking way too much, and I should just tell the story in order. And he's like, the story will tell itself if it's chronological. And that's kind of what I'm gonna do. The theme of today is mostly going through changes. I think, especially at our age, but at every age, everyone's just constantly going through changes. And I think changes could be very beautiful, but also very scary. And in my newer work, that's very obvious. Like, it's obvious that's the topic of it, but my older work, not so much. But I wanted to start at the beginning, and I wanted the fact that this poetry I'm sharing is kind of old to me now in itself to be a part of the story. So I'm going to start in 2018. I wrote poetry a long time before this, but this was my first slam poem. I'm actually going to take this off because I'm left-handed and I want to hold it on my left hand. Ew! Beautiful, okay. So, okay, beautiful. So I wrote this on a subway in 2018, very early in the year. I was in my first year of university, and I remember I called it #BelLet'sTalk. And it was kind of a mental health related, I mean, it definitely was a mental health related poem, but I didn't actually write it for Bell Let's Talk. I was just like, that's coming up, I'm just going to put them in the same category. So here it is. At this point, I don't care if I break down on the subway. It makes people feel uncomfortable. I hear them say, do you think I'd do that if I wasn't uncomfortable? If I was okay? You never truly know what's going on in someone's brain. What makes them tick? What makes them feel insane? I could tell you about my crazy thoughts all day, but my head says no, none of us think the same way anyway. You can only ever see the world through your own pair of eyes, the things that make you happy and the things that you despise, and you look at others like they're aliens, but you still try and sympathize, you feel misunderstood, so you lie. Do drugs and get high to feel fine, to feel less like you're on the verge of suicide. I had this dream once. Something came up to me and took away everything that didn't let me feel. At first I was scared. I wanted to scream, hey, you can't steal, but it left my heart. It left everything real. Yeah, it stole parts of me, but mostly I was blinded by society that I forgot the reality, that my skin isn't all that I am to be. I was so scared in my dream, I have a fear of vulnerability, I felt naked. I felt my heart pounding in a sense of humility, but what was I so scared of people to see? When I woke up, I felt differently. I could finally stand proudly without the boundaries of my body. I could finally be free. We're too young to be taking all these pills. Girls and boys are eating meals that don't fill. Did no one ever tell you that smoking kills? I don't know why there's so many teens that feel this ill. And we don't want people to know, so we keep acting chill, but if we don't want to be helped, we never will. And that's what's so stupid about this whole. We're convinced we need to hide our mistakes with our perfect makeup-filled face, because God forbid anybody sees through my persona that I worked so hard to create. Ha 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 ha, I want to die. I see a lot of Instagram posts like this these days. People act like it's funny when they're clearly in pain, and others respond with shit like LOL saying, I don't know how this way of communication became. 1 in 5 youth have felt in the state, being so in your head that you can't think straight, and I don't want to know where we'll be if we keep it up at this rate, but maybe, just maybe, if we realize we can all relate, we give our generation a new fate. Thank you guys. The next one is from the same period of time. I wrote it about a month later. Actually, my friend Jadon, who's in the audience, this was my second slam performance ever, and I think I shared that poem and then the one I'm about to share as well. I can't see anyone, but woo! And yeah, it's called That's Love, and To be honest, these poems, these few, are so old that I can't... Hello, is that Iman? I'm just guessing by you. Okay, that's Iman, right? Hello. Yeah, so I wrote this pretty much about shifting my relationship with love. At the time, I guess my parents' divorce was still kind of relevant, and it wasn't really rooted in that. It was just rooted in my own perception, in my relationships too, and being like, love is so much more than romantic love, but it's all over the place. And that was kind of what this was about. My parents split up when I was 15, October 5th, 2014, and after that I started to think that love was the most evil thing that's ever been. I started to think that love was me. I was wrong. Love's in every kind moment that I've ever seen. Love is my dad not minding when I decide to live with my mom and my brothers even though he lives alone. Love is my grandma wanting to talk to me so bad that she learned how to use a cell phone. Love is my mom using the money I gave her for her birthday to buy my brothers new shirts. Love is my friends supporting each other even when it hurts. Love is passion. Trust me, I know how many people fail when they go into acting, but damn, that has never stopped me from wanting to be an actress. Love is everyone who told me not to follow my dreams. Love is everyone who tried to ruin my self-esteem. Love is my brother getting all up in my face. He's only doing that because he wants me to find my place. Sometimes love comes in the form of hate, but if it was hate, we wouldn't try so hard to communicate. Love isn't always pretty. Honestly, sometimes love feels really, really shitty, but it's there. I learned how to love when I was 18, February 12th, 2018, and love is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and it's in every single day that's ever been. That's love. Woo! Lovely. Okay, when I tell these stories, when I tell these poems, I want to tell little stories with them, and now at the point we're at, I remember writing these ones very well. We're in 2019 now. And this one is about my experience with acting. And I want to talk about it more after I share it because I think I have kind of a funny story in regards to it. But I'm just going to start with it. And I wrote it on set of my first feature that I worked as an actor on called White Elephant. Woo! Yeah. Woo! I've got so many goals and they're right in front of me. I go through so many stages one day, sometimes it feels like failure is all I can see. Growing up, my dad always pushed this idea that being persistent is key, so I always keep moving forward no matter how down I may be. I'm so scatterbrained, my mind moves in waves. 1 minute I'm feeling stuck, and the next I feel okay. I think I go through 20 different ways to achieve my goals on any given day. Some people are so scared of change, but I'm scared of things to stay the way they are. Ever since I was little, I've set this bar to shoot for the stars, to be the most of who you are, to never ever let yourself stray far away from your dreams. Honestly, at this point, I don't think I can. My dreams are all that I am, they consume me. My mind is thinking of them constantly. It used to be safe 2 hours for your dreams a day. Now it's work 12 hours, then you could play. My mind is obsessed with where I am, with what I want to do. Honestly, I don't know if it's a good amount too. I've got notes in my journal from 5 years ago that say, I know I act, but I still picture myself living with my partner, showing my kids old videos, telling them how cool what I did was. Acting was never in my future plan, and that bothered me because this idea that dreams were unattainable was still ingrained in my mind. I spent the whole next year writing, I am an actress on a sheet of paper every morning to convince myself my dreams are attainable, my future is mine. Thankfully, thoughts like that haven't crossed my mind for long. I don't have that issue anymore of not knowing where I belong, but new concerns still arrive in my head daily. Telling me, oh, I'm more of a filmmaker maybe. Am I doing anything with my time or my thoughts just crazy? I try not to let what other people say faze me, but sometimes they do. I'm only human too. But that has nothing to do with the fact that I've got these words ringing in my ears. If you want something, you need to go and get it. I've got these words written in my mind on repeat all the fucking time. Instagram can be stupid because it only shows people on set having a good time. Not the hours of prep work and auditions to be where I am, and where I am is not where I want to be. But it's so much farther than where I was 5 years ago, which means it's working and it's just the beginning, and I can't wait to see where I'll be in 5 years' time. Scratch that 3 months, because honestly, I'm shocked by the changes created every week. I get so caught up in my life, I'm missing what I'm becoming. Everything I've ever wanted and been proud of was long running. I'm not a natural actor. At least I don't think so. I'm nervous and can be awkward and have trouble letting things go, but that's what's made me so proud. I've never told myself no. When I feel frustrated, I'll give myself the time and then I'll tell myself to go because I know my frustration's not going to fade until I have good work to show. And that's how I know that I'm never going to stop acting. Because he was the cinematographer, but that film, that's right, that poem was in my thesis film, and it was about 2 years after I originally wrote it. And I have a very mixed relationship with it. I still really like it, but I remember being on that set, and I remember thinking that if I booked something like that I would let go and be like totally present. But when I was on set, I was still thinking about editing a lot. Like I was thinking about random projects I had going on, completely unrelated to it. And it was kind of my like, shut up, you're an actor. Like, you know, like just focus on what you're doing. Like, and I guess I don't really like the whole like I'm never gonna stop acting, not because I have any intention to stop, but because I think life fluctuates, and I think it's okay to be where you're at when you're there. And I think that's more obvious in my current work, but at the time I think I was very like, you have one aspiration since you're 5, and it needs to be very linear. And yeah, again, I'm acting, pursuing it much more seriously than I was even when I wrote that. But that being said, I just don't like that mentality that you can't make up your mind as you go and decide what works for you and decide accordingly. Yeah. So I wrote one other poem. In my notes, it's in 2019, but I'm pretty sure I wrote this March 2020 because I remember it was for my friend Gloria's alt project, and she was in alt in 3rd year, so I have no idea how this was written in 2019. And I thought it was the first week of COVID. I remember being home, unless it was a thank you to whoever closed the door. And I thought that it was, I remember being home for the first week, unless it was March break, but for, like, I'm gonna say until 6 months ago, this was my favorite poem, because I think it was pretty genuine in comparison to some of my other older stuff. I think before I was maybe more focused on the rhymes, and I think I learned a lot about how I like to write my poetry through this poem, which is kind of funny, because I didn't write it for myself, but it ended up being my favorite one. Okay. I felt this way before, and it seemed like such a simple fix. Spend time with friends, think less about yourself. All it does is make you sick. It's not that hard. I want to be everything you need and more. I want to be held like I matter. I crave attention, but when I receive it, the pit in my stomach just grows more. I want us to be together, but I always need to go. Every relationship I've ever been in, I just hide myself so I won't show. I want someone, but not you. But honestly, I don't think there's anyone that will do, because I'm craving something I'm lacking, and the more I look for it in others, the quicker I start packing my things and searching for a fresh start. Dating me starts passionate and quick, but trust me, it's even quicker to fall apart. I'm quick to date, quick to love, quick to hate, quick to give up on us. At night I want you, but during the day I just want to be alone. Sometimes I don't have the patience to explain myself. Other times I'm prone to talk too much because I want people to get me. Some people think I'm shy, and others think I'm the biggest extrovert that there can be. And that's because I either think my thoughts aren't worth it and won't say a word. Other times I think my thoughts are all that matter, and I just need to be heard because I feel misunderstood. And I know that I should be reasonable enough to know many people think these thoughts, but honestly it feels like it's just me. So caught off guard when people speak because I'm so wrapped up in my head I'm disconnected. Like I react to everything 5 seconds too late because that's how long it takes me to hear you. And when I look at you, I know you're not someone who sees me through. And I'm not that to you. But we're sick of being alone, so we hold each other tight. Nothing's made sense for a long time, and I was hoping that we could make it right. I want to be that person for you that I've never known how to be. I want to look at you at night and kiss you, and I want you to know that I mean it. When I look at you, I want you to see, to know that I really don't want to go. I really wish I could show you that I could be that person for you. I wish it didn't feel so fucking hard to do, but it does. Because I so badly need to put myself first, but I've been saying that my whole life. I question if there'll ever be a day where my actions don't feel rehearsed. When other people start to date, they seem happier than all else, but whenever I start to date, I just want out. I become crippled with self-doubt. With you, I want that connection. But you don't fill my mind the way I crave. Instead, you just leave me feeling more alone. And I know I need to leave, but I just wish once the answer to my problems was not to go. And one day I worry it will show through me and people will stop trying. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go forward in time a bit, and I'm gonna tell you why as well. So I wrote that, I'm gonna say March 2020, even though the notes in my phone say March 2019, but that makes no sense, so March 2020. But I wrote a lot through COVID as well, but I wasn't really writing slam, or at least not any that I liked. And the reason because of that is because I think at the time I was really self-aware in the way that I was writing. So I was like, I was saying this to somebody actually when we were just talking, when we were walking in. It's like I used to share my poems to everyone who would listen. Like, Iman, like we used to, like I'd be on the subway, and I'd be like doing them on the subway, get random people to like clap on my
We saw people crying on the subway.
But yeah, like I would just like in acting class, I was always after the class done, I'd be doing them, which I don't do that right now. I don't have that relationship with them right now. But I think I repeated them so much that these things I wrote in a moment, like based on a feeling I had in that exact moment, became, in my mind at least, like this part of who I was. And I think I was very self-conscious in particular about the last one, because I'd like get to know someone, and this was on my Instagram, and it's like, I'm quick to date, quick to love, quick to hate, and I'm like, hello, please like me, you know? But I like got it all over my Instagram, you know? So I think I didn't like saying these huge statements about myself anymore, because I felt like we were always changing, and when you say them and you turn into a poem and then you share it, it becomes more concrete. And I wrote in a very different style. I was writing blog entries. I was writing a lot about like bettering yourself and that kind of stuff. I wrote one, and I'm not going to share it all, but just like the gist of what I was writing during that period of time. It was like called Kalyna motherfucking Fisher. 5 things I tell myself to remember who the fuck I am. And it was pretty much to fix some mentalities I had prior to COVID. I remember one in particular being, I felt if somebody was talking to me and I didn't like how I acted for whatever reason, maybe I felt I was being awkward, or I was being too much, or I was acting shy, or whatever, I would imagine these other times in my head when I acted so much different. Like, only if they saw me at this party, if only they saw me in this situation where I acted the ideal version of myself. And I would ruminate on that a lot. But I would say in my head, like, I can fix it. And then the next day, like I was a university student, the next day at university, I would see the same people every day. And I would maybe not repeat the moment, but I would, in my head, consciously try to fix it. So if I felt that I was really quiet, I would try to be louder, you know? And I'd be like, fixed it. Okay, no problem. And then COVID happened, and I couldn't really do that anymore because I just stopped seeing people, of course. We all did. And I found myself ruminating on those little situations. So I remember being like, when I was at home, like, being alone can be very beautiful. I'm alone, like, no one can hurt me here, and nobody can ever hurt me unless I let them. And that was one of those mindsets I kind of fell into. Because I'm like, oh, I got a text message. Let's say someone's being really aggressive. Well, they're on a phone, it's okay, you know? They're over here, I'm here. And I'm like, okay, let's pretend they're not on the phone and they're in front of me. If I have a good relationship with myself, and I know who I am, even let's say I knew even I was in the wrong and I could recognize that or whatever, it still doesn't mean I need to be scared of this person when we're talking to each other. I could just, you know, address the situation as it needs to when it's happening. And that was very good for me. And I was writing a lot about those kind of things, like mentalities I wanted to change. And I graduated, it's 2021. I lived at my mom's for a while. We sold our home, lived with my dad for a while. I remember I was feeling this big in-between because I was doing production management at the time. And I'd do sets, and then there was like this in-between the sets. And and I was plan these trips, and I remember feeling like once these trips are done, I'm gonna be a new person. I'm gonna address things differently, and I really did that, honestly. But I went on the trips first. So I did my first solo trip in December of 2021. It was just to Vancouver, but it was very beautiful. And then in January of 2022, I went with my mom and Bradley. Brad's not here today, but his family is here. And Bradley's sick today, but his family's very lovely. And yeah, we went to Ukraine together for a month, January 2022. And this poem has nothing to do with Ukraine, but I wrote it when I was there. And I wrote it about the mentality I wanted to carry with me when I came home. And then I came home, and then Jerry and I made a song out of it. Cool. So now there's a song that exists called Goddamn I'm So Ambitious. With Dre and I, so that's pretty awesome. But today's the poem version. Okay. I will read more and I will write more until I know it all. And I'll keep going despite the setbacks because I'm not afraid to fall. Well, maybe I am a little. Maybe I'm scared shitless. But I'm more afraid of not committing, coming home with an empty dream and a childhood of broken wishes. Goddamn, I'm so ambitious. I congratulate myself for the hard decisions, the challenging changes and transitions, prioritizing my heart over my head and my unwavering belief in my goals and my mission. For the sacrifices I make, I give up everything that doesn't serve me, letting go of the short-term ego trips. Fuck it, I do it for the creativity. I used to struggle with self-doubt. Fuck me, maybe this is a bunch of stupidity. Goddamn, irrelevant people's perspective on the arts would get to me. Fill me up with a bunch of undeserved insecurity. I didn't know what part was about the arts and what parts were just self-involved means. I talked to other artists and their goals and their vision felt clear as can be. I thought, why not me? But then I read a badass book. It spoke about moving at a higher frequency. It spoke about when you move in directions that make your heart happy, your problems can begin to dissolve and you can start to feel free, and I'm in love with that mentality. And when you're at your best, it becomes bigger than you. Your energy and your peace benefits everyone around you too. And the butterfly effect hops from person to person. And that was enough for me to know it's worth it, to shut my brain off and to stop giving a shit, because nothing makes me scream and smile and cry as much as the arts. Used to feel so spiteful to have pushed myself into an industry with so much stress and lack of clarity, and now all I can think is how grateful I am to be part of it all. The energy, the excitement, the people. Fuck, it's worth the heartache, it's worth everything, it's worth it all. Finally, I'm ready to let go. Finally, I'm ready to free fall. Beautiful. So that was January 2022. I came home, and I really followed through, honestly. I got into a new agency right away, and I moved out. And I moved in next to, not with, but next to the guy I was seeing at the time. And I'm going to mention that, even though it has nothing to do with the poems right now, but it will make sense later. So, okay. Now these aren't poems, these are actually mantras. But I took this manifesto class when I was in 4th year, and it was really lovely. And it really motivated me to think about mantras and what my mantras are. And I've written 4 of them at this point, and they kind of just have to do with what I need to hear at the time. And I keep them under my pillow. I think I've got too many under my pillow now. I have to take some out because I don't read them anymore, because I don't want to read all of them every morning. So I used to read them when there was like 1 under my pillow, but now there's a million. But this was the first one, and it was me kind of going on this creative journey. I wasn't beginning, but I was beginning in a new way. It was also just right post-COVID, so that also just made everything feel very alive again, I think, in regards to everything, but also like the art world. Yeah, and this is how it goes. I'm creative, I'm consistent, I think outside the box. My dreams are coming true. I'm gonna have everything I want and more. I'm ready, I've done the prep work. I'm confident because I'm spitting straight facts. And I don't take no for an answer. I am and will take the world by storm. You ain't seen nothing yet. I love you for everything that you are, you have been, and will be. You continue to inspire me every single day. I love you. Thank you. And then I wrote this one afterwards because this one is my patience mantra. The other one is mantra I keep under my pillow. And this mantra, I was just struggling with patience, to be honest. Like, I was very accustomed to living alone. Like, I lived alone most of COVID. During 4th year, I lived by myself. And I suddenly had roommates who, we all had very contrasting personalities, which I'm sure happens all the time. But I just found that I needed to get used to the fact that I'm suddenly surrounded by people, and I need room for them, you know? And to do that and to be happy doing that, I need to be more of a patient person. And it had to do with career as well, just being patient in my career. But it just felt like what I needed to hear at the time. I am patient, and I focus on my surroundings because I know that being I'm patient, and I focus on my surroundings, and I know that being kind in the moment is the best thing I can do for myself and for others. And I can get to that place as soon as I choose to. I don't need to wait for anyone. This is a state I can reach at any time. This day is your day. I love you. with the, this is a state I can reach at any time, because I don't know if anybody relates to this, but I feel like my emotions go like this. Or it goes like this, you know? And then it kind of goes up and down. But I feel like if I'm feeling hectic about anything, I want to be able to solve it to an extent right away. But it feels like, oh, like once I solve this one part of me, and then the other part will solve, and then this other part will solve, and then I'll be better in my relationships, and then I'll be calmer, and then I'll be this and this. But I never thought about reversing it and just being like, hey, maybe I feel like shit right now, maybe I feel sick, or something feels wrong. But if I'm patient and if I'm there with the people around me, I have that one less thing to worry about. I'm good to these people. And once that's solved, maybe my mind will slow down. Well, I feel like prior to that, I was always trying to do it the other way around. So yeah. And January of 2023, I applied for my master's in creative writing. And I got accepted a little bit, but I applied for only schools in New York. And I'm not going, mostly because I'm pursuing acting and it's a little distracting, but also because of money as well. But I did write some cool poems that I actually wrote for my application, and I wrote one called Dad. so shout out to my dad. Yeah, he never liked my poetry before. So I wrote this one because I thought you'd like it. And yeah, okay, here we go. So, because I think I was always talking about family and stuff, and like obviously that's sometimes hard when, yeah, so anyway, whatever. So, okay, I'll explain this one after I share it. So, okay. Starts with, okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember the first line. Okay, when I'm overwhelmed, my dad always tells me, where is your next island, Kalyna? Paddle to it. Don't worry about the rest, just get your feet off the ground, one step, Kalyna. That's all it takes to turn your perception around, okay? When I struggle in my career and things take longer than I planned, my dad tells me you get points for perseverance. You're just like me, you lack patience, but trust me, you have the endurance, so don't give up. I'm not worried about you. Ever since I was a little kid, if I struggled with my friendships and relationships, my dad tells me, fly with the eagles, not with the pigeons. Focus on those who lift you up and not those who drag you down. Sometimes relationships are complicated and not so black and white. Sometimes these decisions don't feel easy, Kalyna, but you got this. Remember who you are and who you want to be. Sometimes you'll get upset over the little things, and when this happens, point at yourself and say, mini me, I'm bigger than the problem. And try again, because you've got the whole world to conquer, Kalyna. So when I wrote this and I shared it to my dad says, oh, if I knew you were going to make a poem about me, I would have said smarter things to you growing up.
You were on record.
That's the best I can do. That's all I got.
No, but I mean, but I think I like it. I think it's beautiful. And yeah, so I wrote that poem, and it's about my father. My father's very beautiful. Okay, let's go forward in time. So I moved out of that apartment in March of 2023. And I started to travel, and up until this point, and still, to be honest, somebody's coming. Hello. Oh, that's my brother, I think. Hello. Yeah, and when I was traveling, hi, Alex. Yeah, so I don't know. Poetry has been kind of a funny thing for me for a long time, because I go through phases where it kind of becomes everything, and then phases where I'm like, why am I writing poetry? And then I kind of toss it aside a bit and come back. So when I was traveling, originally I was focused on editing. I was actually editing a project that Connor and I did, and yeah, and I was working on it while I was traveling. And then I was a silly goose, and I took a bus. I went from, at the time, I think I was in Lithuania, and the bus was going to Ukraine, but I was stopping in Warsaw. But the bus continued to Ukraine, and so did my hard drive. I lost like so much editing, so much. It's still a blessing to be here and to live so freely. I was scared to graduate from university. I thought I cared too much what people think. To be comfortable in sitting in adversity my career path will bring. I'm good at what I do in school, and disappointing my parents, it's gonna sting. Maybe I should just take that film gig. At least it's in my industry. I was worried I'd be weak to take the nicely packaged job for the comfort of others instead of the more challenging route I seek, but I did it. I'm doing it. Sometimes I forget that I should take pride in the risks I take. Kalyna, you took a leap of faith. You're not one to live the safe way. You moved out without a job and then worried about getting paid. You moved in next to a boy you'd fall in love with. You didn't worry so much about whether it would last or fade. You went to Europe alone. That's a decision that you made. You were pursuing one of the most challenging careers in the world. And over again, you get afraid, and over again, you choose to stay. Yes, the winter sometimes gets hard on the soul, but nothing that a warm cup of tea can't fix. And anyways, the flowers will be back again in May. The flowers bloom, and so do I. I don't give a shit anymore what others say. I found great liberation in doing things my own way. Yeah, that was rooted in a few things. I think just when I first graduated from university, and I know a lot of people feel this way, but I felt like if I didn't achieve everything by tomorrow, then something's wrong with me, you know? Like, I think, again, COVID was a component of that too, because it was also a pandemic, and I probably wasn't in the right headspace as it was. But I felt a ton of pressure. Like, I remember I was living with my dad again, and my dad would come back from a long day at work, and I was like, doing contortion or something. I was always doing contortion. I wanted to be contortionist. And and then I was like, oh, I feel so silly right now. What am I doing? And then I was just like debating all the time, like what the right thing to do is. Yeah, I did hurt myself pretty bad. I took a lot of physio, but it's okay now. It's mostly okay now. I actually went and took like a assessment at a gym for the first time in years last week. And they're like, what's wrong with your body? And I'm like, well, my badminton injury here, I broke my wrist because I fell on the floor. Like, my ribs are fucked up from contortion. I'm like, sorry, I don't know. But yeah, it's mostly fine. And yeah, so I was just overthinking that a lot. And now I really trust that, you know, nobody's really watching you that closely. You've got time to do things your own way. And if you're enjoying what you're doing, then you're doing everything fine. You know, make money, enjoy what you're doing, and that's really all you have to do. It doesn't really matter what some kid from university who doesn't at all have the life you want is doing with their time, because their life's not yours, you know? So a lot of it was rooted in that, and I think the beginning too, which talks about sacrifice, it's from a book that I actually read right before my Ukraine trip. And who has, a lot of you have probably read it. It's A Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And it talks about, like, every decision you make in life requires a sacrifice. And you have to come to terms with that sacrifice that you're gonna make. And that was so freaking useful for me. Like, it sounds like the simplest thing, but it was so useful because for me, I was always trying to go both ways at the same time. And then even though I was accomplishing something I wanted, I was so busy being upset that I wasn't accomplishing the other thing, which was not possible. You know? And I remember thinking that about my Ukraine trip. I felt, for years, I was very resentful about acting because I wasn't traveling because I thought it wasn't useful. So then I'd miss a trip, my friends would invite me somewhere, I wouldn't go, and then the trip would end and I'd look and I'd say, well, I booked nothing and I just didn't go on that trip. I'm like, well, ouch, you know? And I found myself building a lot of resentment, which is not cool if you want to pursue it for the long run. And I remember thinking those thoughts at that period of time as well. And I'm like, this requires sacrifice. Yes, I can pursue art when I'm there. I actually took acting classes when I was in Ukraine as well. But I'm like, but am I going to book something in Toronto during this period of time? No. Is it only a month in the scheme of things? Yes. Is it an experience I'm always going to remember and probably going to benefit acting? Because the more life you have, the more I feel like they help each other, really, because acting is living, you know? The better it is. And I remember just having that thought a lot when I travel. That thought comes into my head a lot. because I used to just have such a, you're not allowed to travel, you're not allowed to travel. Now I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna travel if I want to. And maybe that's a bit of time in between acting, and maybe that'll make things take a little longer. But I don't even know if that's true because I'm gaining experience, and this experience is gonna stick with me. So that's where I was at when I wrote that. This next one I wrote on the way to Bucharest. I actually went to Bucharest to, it was so random. A friend of mine who was in our program at York, he moved with his girlfriend to Bucharest. And he's an acting teacher in Bucharest, Romania. And his girlfriend is an engineer. Like she's doing Adobe online. And he just saw that I was in Budapest, and he said, "You're so close to me, come over." And I said, "Sure." And I was not close, this guy lied. Like, it was 17 hours away. I went the next day on a train. I was like, "Sure, yeah, I'm close, okay." I'm like, no, that was not that close. But anyway, I wrote this on the way to see him, and I had a very lovely time seeing them. He told me, like, "You're gonna be surprised, a lot of things in my life has changed." In my head, thought he's not pursuing acting anymore. But I was wrong. His girlfriend was pregnant, and now he has a beautiful baby. So it had nothing to do with acting. He's still doing that. Okay, so this is the poem I wrote on the way. And this one, oh, you know how I said the other one is not my favorite poem anymore from before? It's because this is my favorite poem now. Yeah, okay. Change has got me in a chokehold, pitch black, I'm blindfolded, a gun to my head. Wish I could run, jelly for legs, too prideful to beg, lover of life. A lot of my past I still haven't shed, focus in on the now, that's what I read, give it a try. Can't lie, a little scared, called out for change because I cared. Apartment gone, the boy too, in another country now, in my city soon, not sure what I'll do. Haven't seen my kitties in a while, everything is new, unfamiliarity everywhere I look. I submit myself to writing, feelings aren't tangible and yet they consume me. Kind of my style, might fuck around and use it to fulfill my destiny. Elbow in the chest, I will break free. Blindfold on the floor, finally can see. Beating chest, churning stomach, just let me be, just let me be. Change an eye, face to face, weapons down. I don't want the past to erase, but I'd love to move forward. Change, you and I were shadow friends. The only one who will be with me in the end. You break me and you mend me. I need you. You're necessary, beautiful, frightening, and certain. I want you. You're no unwanted burden. Through you, I'll discover me. Open the curtain up a little more. Take up space. The stage is mine. An interesting age, excited to shine. Change, I'll find my way. All my favorite moments are through your guidance. When I risk it all, that's when I fall in love with being. Sometimes I find you heavy. Mostly I find you freeing. Travel. I mean, some people just travel just because, but typically it's because I feel like it's this period of time where you're in your own world, and then you come back and you can kind of be whoever you want to be again. And it wasn't that serious, you know, it was okay, but I did definitely want that feeling. And I really loved that poem in comparison to the others because I feel like these last 2 years, I was always very like, you know, uber positive, but these last 2 years I've really like put that on. So I noticed in my poetry and in the way I communicate that comes out a lot. And I really love that because I want to give out positive energy, of course, but I also don't want to like be like toxic in my positivity, you know. I want to be rooted in, I want to be genuine, and I think that poem was very genuine for me in what I was experiencing. Like, I was in a mindset where growth was the priority, and I knew I was changing, and I knew everything was okay, but it doesn't mean that just everything around me was perfect. I was still going through a lot at the same time. Yes, yeah. And this one, I actually wrote it on Luis and Morgan, who they're my friends who I visited in Bucharest. I wrote this one on their couch when I couldn't sleep, and it's called 3 a.m. again. And I was so hyper, I was like, this, I want to do this, I want to do this. So this is what I wrote as a result of that. 3 a.m. again, dreams calling at me a bit too loud, seems typical by now. I won't stop until I'm proud, meditating my day away, it's a beautiful thing. one day at a time, Kalyna. If you've got the patience, you'll see the amazing things life can bring. I'm so excited every single day. Beating heart, breathe in and out, tingly fingers, lingering feelings. Your girl, she's always dreaming, makes me hyper, and yet it's why I'm always beaming. I've got so much to do. Instead, I lay here doing somersaults. I pray here, expressing gratitude. I forgive myself for my faults. Sleep it off, Kalyna. You've got the world in your pocket. Write it down and then lock it up. It's time to go to bed. I know you want to solve it all right now, but the world will wait for you. I'm just going to share 2 more pieces today, and they were my final mantras. So I wrote one on the trip, and then I've written one since I came home from the trip as well. And the one on the trip goes like this. Oh, so I read a book. I forget what book I was reading when I was there, but it was telling me to say every morning when you wake up, say, I wonder what today will bring. So this poem, or this mantra begins with, I wonder what today will bring, because I was trying to get in that mindset. So, I wonder what today will bring. I don't have all the answers about life, and that's more than okay, because I trust that life will unfold beautifully around me. I really do. I trust in myself to know that I will continue to make decisions that best reflect where I'm at in my life. I trust in myself enough to know that I will continue to make the best decisions based on where I'm at, which reflect where I'm at in my life. That will continue, oh man. That will continue to make decisions that best reflect in my life. Something like that. Oh, mamma mia. Okay, yeah. And that will allow me to continue to make decisions that best reflect where I'm at in my life. I'm just going to end it there. There's only one more line, but I just don't know what that one line is. But the last one, I figured I might want this anyway. I'm going to try to read it, but let's see. Okay. Let's try this again. I wonder what today will bring. I don't have all the answers about life, and that's more than okay. Because I trust that life will unfold beautifully around me. I really do. I trust in myself and to know that I will always follow what calls me, and that will allow me to make decisions that best reflect where I'm at in my life. Your desire to build yourself the best life for you is powerful. You continue to inspire me every single day. I love you. Cool. Now this one I wrote recently, and I think I know it. It might get a little messed around the edges, but I think I'm gonna give it a go. And when I came home, obviously when you're traveling, you're in one headspace, and when you come home, you kind of fall into another one. And I've learned this about myself a lot when I travel. I just when I come home, I get really motivated. I just want to do everything right away. And I kind of love that, I get very focused, and I tend to feel very good about these stages afterwards. And I had a vision. So I remember when I was in second year of university, and I was living at Campus 1 at the time, and I had this vision where I wanted there to be this school that existed, that I could go to, maybe everyone went to, and you got a mentor. And the mentor was specific to you and what you were looking for. And the reason why I wanted this is because I feel like I'm pretty niche. I pursue acting, but a lot of friends of mine who pursue acting want to act for very different reasons than me, or the things that they really enjoy about acting are very different than mine. And I had visions of maybe being on a stage or creating shows or putting together different art forms. And I thought, what does this look like? I don't know anything about this. I would really love somebody that I can tell these ideas to, who understands them, knows how to make them happen. And I've always loved school, so I wanted them to make me a textbook. And I'm like, one day I do this. Okay, beautiful. And this is how I get towards success. Like next day I go here, and then I just keep going until I get what I want, you know? And that doesn't exist, or at least it doesn't exist in the way that I wanted it to. And I'm sure of course, there's many mentors out there, and you can find the person that suits you. I think I've been looking in the wrong places. Like I'll talk about this stuff to my film acting coaches, but really I'm maybe a little bit in the wrong universe, you know? I should be talking to some like experimental theater people or something. But yeah, and when I came home and I had that thought again, I want someone to mentor me through this, I realized I want to stop wanting. Like I want to, I can give myself what I'm looking for. And this is called I Am My Own Coach, because I figured that no one's really going to give me what I'm looking for except myself. And I think a part of this is also rooted in, I think when you're a kid, you always look for, or at least you look for praise. So if you do well in a badminton tournament and your parents say, good job, you go, woo, I did good, you got an A+. And when you kind of grow up a little bit, and I know I'm not a big adult, but I'm a little adult, very large child, like somewhere in the middle, I guess. At this point, I heard these kids talking in the Eden Center yesterday, and they're like, the bad thing about getting a job in it wasn't Eden Center, Union. The bad thing about getting a job in the Union Center these days is that they only give it to real adults, like 22-year-olds. I'm like, oh, god damn. 22 is a real adult. I thought you guys were my age, and then I heard they were 14, they're freaking 14. I'm like, I'm a decade older than you. But I know I'm young, but I'm older than I've ever been, so whatever. Yeah, I feel old, but I don't feel old, I don't know how I feel. I'm really confused. Anyways, off topic. Yes, it's just sometimes, I'm really grateful both my parents are here today. It's really beautiful, actually. But sometimes, you have a show or you do something and it's a big deal in your own head, but people around you don't always know what you're doing anymore. Or my thing is I'm doing too much that it's hard to keep up with, and I might do something that feels like a big deal or feels very different than those other things. But to everyone else, they're all lumped into the same group, right? So I feel like even, I don't know, just another example, for instance, I booked my first union acting gig last year, but to the general public who know nothing about acting, they see me doing short films all the time or features or whatever, and they think that it's all the same. But to me, it was actually a big deal in comparison to the other things, which is how it goes, of course. We're all in different industries, and I'm sure I do that to those around me too. They're like, I got this promotion. I'm like, cool, But yeah, this is about taking responsibility. So, I am my own coach. No one is going to hand me my achievements. No one is going to understand my vision like I do. No one is going to check on my progress the way I will. Have patience. Patience means you trust yourself. Patience also brings kindness. Patience also brings abundance. When you are calm and in flow, the universe adds good things in your life because you are showing that you're ready for it. You're showing that you can handle it. I can handle it. Find balance between art, friends, family, and self. Don't worry about anybody else's career clock for you. You know where you're at, you know what to do, and you know what you need. Just trust. I believe in you. And sometimes I know things are going to feel like they get too busy or maybe too difficult in your personal life, but just know that life is always fluctuating. It's not the end. You haven't lost yourself. You're just changing. And also remember that your best ideas always come when you don't know what to do. Also remember it's okay to go and see some friends because not everything has an answer overnight. Your life will continue to change and you will continue to grow up and learn about money and life and relationships. And I'm excited to watch you grow. I have endless faith in you. I love you. I think as well, a big way I feel that I've personally changed is, well, don't worry about anyone else's career clock for you. I definitely did before a lot. And also just sometimes life does change on you, and before I had no patience for that. Like something would happen and I'd say, why are things moving slower? And I didn't really realize that your life, like you've got your creative life, but you also have this whole world that is moving at its own pace. And I feel like I do a really good job at staying grounded, but simultaneously, if I take a step back and look at it for a second, I think I will understand that this is just how life is moving sometimes. And when I understand that, I can step back into it with a lot more confidence and find my footing again. So yeah, that's my current mantra. I wrote that one very recently, and I really like it a lot. It's my favorite one. And that concludes the show. So. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys all being here. I was so nervous about numbers. I was kind of joking to people, like, so I like would throw parties in high school, and then I'd be like, nobody's coming. So I'd keep inviting people, and then before you knew it, I'd have like, my mom would be like, why are there 150 people in the house? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't invite them. So I was like, okay, just know what you're doing, Kalyna, and just feel the room, and whoever's here is beautiful. And and honestly, that's how I felt. Like as soon as people started walking in, I stopped giving a shit. I was like, even if it's 5 people here, I'm just gonna do my thing. And I'm really grateful for you guys all for showing up. This was really fun.
Yeah.
Hello. So I wrote 2 books now. I wrote, thank you. I wrote one, it was actually when I was in grade 9, I really wanted to publish a book. And I made a book and I printed and everything, but I didn't know how to make it look professional. And then last year I learned how to make stuff on Procreate, and I turned it into a book. And the other one, I actually made it, it's dedicated to the show. And I was a little silly, and I didn't bring it with me. But I do believe my dad brought the other ones, but just for simplicity, because I don't think I'm going to be like collecting money or whatever right now. I did leave a binder, or actually I think it's a little notebook at the back there. And if you're interested in one, just let me know which one. The original one is called The Many Things I Love, and it's a kind of like a children's poetry book, and they're right here, yeah. But I probably won't give them all today, but just so you know, they're like this. Yeah, they were very fun to make. I gave them to my whole family for Christmas. If you're related to me, every year you get me making you some weird thing. No, beautiful thing, but yeah, every year I'm making you something. And then this year, yeah, I made one called Patchwork. It's got all these poems. It's actually got one poem that I didn't share. I just thought it was a bit too long, but it's about my family. It's about really just like my grandparents and their history. My grandparents are very lovely. They live in a yellow house in Mississauga. They're 93 and 90 and healthy and amazing. And my other 2 grandparents, they've passed away a long time ago now. They're my mom's parents, and my dad's side of the family is in Canada, like forever back. You go to 1700s, I think. They're in Canada. Craziness. My mom's side, she's half Ukrainian, half Italian descent. So it talks about their history and them meeting each other in England, which is where my mom and her sisters grew up for a little bit before they moved here. So that poem's in there as well, but otherwise everything's the same. Just that poem was a part of the show before. And yeah, that's everything. So you can put your name in there if you're interested. I'll be selling them probably for $15. Ideally, I'd like to in the future make things cheaper. I just don't know how to print them for cheap at this point. Like I'm printing them in little bulks, so when I print them, they're pretty pricey. So that's how it is. But yeah, thank you again, and that's all I got for you.
That's good. Great job. Great job. Very beautiful. Very beautiful.
Very beautiful, very weird. I love it.